So there have been multiple videos covering various angles on how strong Minecraft Steve is, like how Steve can carry hundreds of solid gold cubes that each weigh 42,000 pounds and still being able to run and jump while having it in his inventory. Today I'll be covering how strong a Guardian from the video game Destiny 2 really is, based off of what is in their inventories. So stick around to the end to find out how strong the character really is. So what is a Guardian? In Destiny 2, Guardians are the characters you play as and the last defenders of humanity. They are resurrected corpses from the Golden Age brought back to life by the Traveler's Light through the assistance of ghosts, which are small, artificially intelligent flying robots, which are these cute little guys. Since I have over 800 hours in this game, I know a thing or two about Destiny. The Guardians don't remember their past lives, so they are tasked with protecting the last city on Earth and exploring the remnants of human civilization throughout the solar system. Guardians come in three species: humans, exos, which are robotic beings, and awoken, which are mystical beings. The choice of species is purely cosmetic and doesn't affect gameplay at all. There are also three main classes of Guardians, each with unique abilities and playstyles, this being Hunter, Titan, and Warlock. Hunters are agile and stealthy, Titans are strong and resilient, and Warlocks are mystical and powerful. The class we're going to be using for this video is a Warlock. The class you use doesn't affect your Guardian's inventory space at all, so they're all the same, so it doesn't really matter which class we use. Their armors are different though in functionality and lore. We won't be going too deep into it because some will say, actually the Titan has a certain type of capabilities with their armor that makes them stronger than the other classes. Yeah. I'm just here to find out how strong they are and how much they can carry. Here's a little bit of specs to know the size and strength of a Guardian. The average height in Destiny 2 of all Guardians are generally around 6 feet tall or 1.83 meters. The weight of Guardians is unknown, unfortunately. Guardians have also been seen and known to be able to smash enemies' heads off with simple movements in a fight, just like a punch. One of these enemies being a Cabal Legionary that stands at 8 feet tall. Now that we know how strong they are, let's talk about what they can carry. We're going to refer to our Guardian as our Guardian because they don't have an exact name in the game. In the game, you have three weapon slots that you can use while playing. You have your main gun, your secondary gun, and your heavy weapon. You can carry 9 in your inventory at a time and have 1 equipped to use. That means Guardians carry a total of 30 guns at a time, ranging from pistols to ARs to swords, rocket launchers, and grenade launchers. There are a total of 17 different kinds of weapons that a player can use in the game. Listed on the screen are the individual weights of each weapon. These weights reflect real-world weapons and their actual weights. So in the first slot, the weapon that is allowed to be equipped and weighs the most is a scout rifle. We're going to use only one type of weapon that weighs the most per slot so that we can understand how much that they can carry, that is. The equivalent of a scout rifle in the game to a real-world weapon is a MK14 EBR. The weapon in-game that resembles it the most is the Fare Thee Well scout rifle. The MK14 EBR weighs 16.6 pounds with ammo loaded. For the second weapon slot, we're going to go with the Enigma, which is a glaive. A glaive is a type of pole weapon that features a single edge blade attached to the end of a long pole, typically around 2 meters in length. The blade itself is usually about 45 centimeters long. The weight of the weapon can range from 5 pounds to 22 pounds. So we're going to go with the latter of 22 pounds because in the game, they look huge. Then for the final weapon slot, the heavy weapon, we're going to go with the Thunderlord. An IRL comparison would be a minigun which weighs up to 85 pounds. This being an M134 minigun that weighs 85 pounds. So now because we have all three weapons selected, we're going to take their weights and multiply it by 10 because you can carry 10 guns at a time, and we get 166 pounds for the first weapon, 220 for the second, and 850 for the third. This brings the total to 1,236 pounds, or 560.64 kilograms. In weight of the weapons we can carry in game. That already is an insane weight because like Minecraft Steve, who's able to run and jump while carrying solid gold cubes, our Guardian can do this as well while still having the ability to float in air, which I won't get into the physics of that. We're going to save the 5 armor pieces for the end since they are complicated, and we're going to move to the Sparrows instead. The Sparrow is the main form of transportation in the game when you load into the open world sandbox maps. You're able to summon them whenever you want in permitted areas, so I'm going to count them as an additional weight that we carry since we can only have a limited amount of them in our inventory and are able to interact with them. So the way that I figure out how much they weigh is by comparing them to a Dodge Tomahawk or a speeder bike from Star Wars. They are sleek, fast, and designed for quick traversal across various terrains, which like how motorcycles are used in efficient travel in the real world. The exact weight of sparrows in Destiny 2 isn't specified in the game. However, there is now a speeder bike in-game because of the recent Star Wars collab. Speeder bikes weigh around 440 pounds, which on the other hand, the Dodge Tomahawk typically weighs around 1500 pounds. So choosing between sparrows that look like a Dodge Tomahawk or the speeder bike that has a model in the game, we're going to have to go with the speeder bike because they have a model in the game. I don't have the item in game though, so like the video so I can get it. The math is the same way the weapons were, since we only have 10 at a time. 440 times 10 is 4,400 pounds. We'll add this later on, so stick around to the end to find out. Next, I will not be counting the ships since you cannot directly interact with them, even though we have them in our inventory and I have no clue where we even store them. I'll be adding together the weight of our ghost instead. The basic shell that we start out with probably weighs around 1 to 2 pounds, but to make things interesting, I found 10 ghost shells that resemble real world items like a toy speedboat, a small rover, and a mini helicopter, and other cool shells too. I then found things that resemble the ghost shells in the real world and found the weights for each of those items too. The one that had an item that weighed the most was the Halcyon shell that looks like an Apple Macintosh SE30 because of the big screen and the floppy disk import. We then have our clan banner, which weighs 6 pounds compared to the other flags. We don't interact with this either, but I'll explain why I'm counting it later on. Then there's also the seasonal artifact that probably weighs around 10 pounds because it kind of looks like rock minus all this other jazz that's on there. And now, all of the armored pieces. I'm going over a warlock's armor because a titan has heavier looking gear and a hunter's gear would be lighter than the other two. So a warlock's is a good median, which makes using the warlocks a good choice. Now for all classes, they each have 5 armor pieces, and like the other things we counted, they each have 10 slots as well. So we'll have a total of 50 armor pieces to count, so starting from the bottom to the top. For the boots, I went with the untethered edge boots. They resemble / look like the bottom half of a medieval knight's armor. A full suit of armor weighs around 55 pounds, and the lower half weighs around 20 pounds. The actual weight varies depending on the kind of armor though, so we'll go with 20 pounds. So for the torso and robes, for the chest armor, the ones that stuck out the most were the Iron Banner armors. Also because most of them look really cool, but a lot of the armors have mixtures of samurai, Viking, and medieval elements in them that resemble heavy duty armor that these cultures would use for war back in their time. So I'm in the clear to use them. I also considered the Thormholt robes because they look like heavy spacesuits, like the bulky white ones, but then they just reminded me of Elon's spacesuits because of how they fit on our character, so I didn't choose to use them. I eventually chose to go with the Iron Remembrant vestments, since they resemble the upper chest, shoulder parts, and the hip garments of a samurai's armor. Given I know there is the Ancestral Robes ornament, which is literally a samurai's armor, I just don't have it, and for the sakes of the video, I'm using this armor as a substitute. Unless you subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video so I could afford to get the ornaments to make better videos. But the, I hope I say this right, Oyori traditional armor, when you count the shoulder guards and the other upper body components, the total could reach 57 to 66 pounds, so for the torso, we'll just take the 66 pounds. For the gloves, I went with the Sublime gloves because they kind of look like Jouster gauntlets, so I went with it. They can actually weigh up to 5.5 pounds per pair, so 5.5 pounds it is. The armband is a little complicated because most of them look like they're made of cloth with tiny bits of metal, and others have hologram projections, and some are, I don't even know, they're weird. But the first Ascended Bond looks like a small shield crest. The real shield with crest weigh around 11 pounds, so if you, let's say, took that down to size and made it out of metal for protection, the bottom would weigh about 2 pounds. Now for the helmet. It was a tricky process to figure out which helmet to use. That's because we have medieval looking helmets, helmets with animal skulls, spacesuit helmets, ones with crystals, and domes. So the only thing that I thought would compare to these helmets to a real world weight was a helmet from Halo. Halo was made by Bungie, which also makes Destiny 2, so it's okay for me to cross compare. But ordinary Spartan helmets weigh 10 pounds, while the EOD Explosive Ordnance Disposal helmet from Halo can weigh around 15 pounds. The choices that I came up with that sort of resemble Spartan's helmets were the Veteran Legend hood, Shade Stalker hood, and the Astral Stasis Drake mask. I eventually ended up going with the Astral Stasis Drake mask because of the lines on the visor that resemble lines that Master Chief and other Spartans have on their visors. So we're just going to say it weighs 10 pounds because it's not as bulky as the ELD helmets are. I then went ahead and put on all the selected armor pieces, and we get this monstrosity. As most people know in Destiny, one of the in-game goals is to make your Guardian look cool. So with just a bit of coloring, our Guardian doesn't look half as bad. So let's now tally up the armor pieces. The helmet is 10 pounds, armband is 2, gloves is 5.5, torso is 66, and boots are 22 pounds. So combining them all together, then timing by 10, our Guardian carries 1,055 pounds of armor. Lastly, I won't bore you with calculating all of the items in our inventory. Just know that there are a bunch of crystals, little plants, more banners, little supernatural items like actual light, and small medallions and coins that will be added to our total. Just keep in mind the reason why I'm counting them is because you can collect and interact with these items via the sandbox maps or various other means. But there is a limited amount of space of items you can carry and several different items that one may have in their inventory in game. And unlike in Minecraft where you can have more than one stack of an item stored, in Destiny you can't, except for raid banners. I'll just count them as one stack. Oh, and for our clan banner, the reason I counted it is because you can interact with raid banners. So the clan banner gets included in our grand total. So based off of what I just have here and added them to the total amount that you can carry, our inventory weighs 6,397.6 pounds. If you want a full explanation of how I did these weights for the inventory, like this video and I'll go into depth about all the mystical and random stuff filled in Destiny and their weights, including how I did it for this video. Make sure to like this video so I know that video is wanted. So now, our Guardian here carries a grand total of 13,474.6 pounds. That's insane. Compared to Ronnie Coleman's 800-pound 2-rep max squat, our noodle arm warlock here, just based off of the weight we run around with, we need 17 Ronnie Colemans to carry what we have in our back pockets. 17 of this big old dude. That is insanity. And I wouldn't even know how to calculate how much a Guardian would be able to squat based off of the information here. Granted though, our Guardian is gifted with mystical powers called the Light from the Traveler, which gives us, the players, the abilities we use in game. This does explain why we're as strong as we are, given we can float and literally hold, wait a minute, is that a black hole? We can hold literal black holes in the palm of our hand? I don't even know where to even start to calculate how much this thing weighs. But thanks for staying all the way to the end of the video. Please make sure you don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It helps a lot with channels like mine. Thank you for watching and have a good day.